Welcome to the Life of KG, your ultimate destination for all things motivation and business insights. Join me, Katie Godfrey, serial entrepreneur and the brains behind the KG brand. Along the way, we'll welcome inspiring guests and share invaluable business tips to fuel your growth journey. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. With that said, let's dive into the world of success together. I want to introduce you to a brand that I'm working with called Dizzo. They offer dissolvable supplement strips, which means the vitamins are absorbed 4 times more than tablets and capsules. So these are perfect if you want quicker results or maybe you can't take tablets. You guys know that I only work with brands I love. So I am personally using their B12 strips and their energy strips. As a business owner, I get tired. So I kind of need that boost every day. And these are definitely helping with my energy levels. I'm also taking their multivitamin strips, which taste lovely. Go and check out their website in the show notes. Go and order yours and let me know what you think. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. Today on the show I have Reena. I'm so excited to have her here as she specialises all in PR and we know we love a bit of that on the show. So I wanted to share all of her expertise so we can dig a little bit deeper into that and find out her background and what brought her into PR. So Reena, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's so amazing. And where are you from in the world? Because everyone's going to be like, oh, where's the accent?
Yes, I live in the United States. Specifically, I live now back in my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. So, if you're not familiar with Ohio, it's it's an identity crisis. It's South meets Midwest meets East Coast part of the United States.
Ah, amazing. So is it warm there now? Is it summer?
It is still summer here. It is still quite warm, but the leaves are falling. The season is definitely changing here.
Yeah, same here. We had a very, very, very short summer. So I decided to go
Mm.
to Bali instead and spend it in there because that's so much better than the UK.
I have a client that's based in London too, and she's currently in Greece. She was in Australia, so I hear that a lot from my London friends.
Yeah, definitely. So do us a little intro for us, like what you do, bit of background so everyone can find out more.
I'd be happy to. So, I am the founder and CEO of Factor PR. We are an award winning communications studio for beauty and wellness brands. So, I work with experts and service providers alongside my team and helping them really create more visibility for their businesses and ultimately to make a bigger impact, right? So, some of what that looks like is media relations. So, getting free publicity for their businesses or even for their personal brand, working on their social media strategy, securing various brand partnerships or influencer and celebrity partnerships. If you think about kind of the what we call in our world the peso model of paid, earned, shared, and owned media, we basically do everything except for the paid part. So, very authentic type of marketing where we're really attracting an audience. And again, for that, ultimately to help boost their brand and their bottom line, their businesses, of course, as well too. So I joke sometimes that, but it's kind of true. I'm literally not good at anything else. This is my life's work, and absolutely love working with our clients either one on one or in a group setting. We also have sort of a course as well called the DIY PR project, where brands, especially those in the beauty space, can kind of get their feet wet. And what I'm so passionate about is really democratizing PR for the average person, right? I think that there's for a long time been this misunderstanding that things like publicity are for the top tier big guys, right? Like bigger brands, bigger experts. And what I try to stress to people is that, something to remember is that publicity, you don't actually pay for it. If it's actual publicity, you don't pay for it. So, in terms of budget, especially, It's not, you can get creative, right? You can get savvy with a PR budget versus something like an advertising budget where you put money in and you get something out in return. With PR, it's a lot more authentic than that, and it's more tangible than people think. So I love making this my work, and like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. So I'm happy to share a wealth of information for your listeners today.
Amazing. And I'm actually in the middle of taking your program and I absolutely love it. So I highly, highly recommend if people want to do like their own PR. So other than that program, then do you offer like if people do want to just pay you as their agent and you go out and get the press for them? Is that how it works?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. So we consider it sort of like that done for you type program. So working on retainer with our clients, we work one on one with them to earn press coverage. And the thing about PR, right? It's not rocket science; it's relationships. So it's always important, depending on the media outlets, for example, that you want to get coverage in, that either you or your agent possesses those relationships, because that can definitely result in coverage a little bit quicker, right? Like when you know the right people that can tell your story. Um, you know, that's why most of the brands that we work with, right, are going to be in that like beauty wellness space. First, we have an affinity for it, but secondly, because we know these editors, they know us as well too. So working one on one can really be helpful to sort of fast track your public relations efforts. As we often say, right, if you have more time than money, you're going to want to DIY. If you have more money than time, you might want to think about hiring an agency.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very, very lucky that over the years of business, I've had so much PR coverage that now I'm able to
Yeah.
like teach it a little bit more in my training and in my coaching. So when people talk to me about it, I'm like, it literally is all relationship building, and people like people to respond fast as well. I've noticed that. So people come back to me time and time again because they're like, Kate, you're so easy to work with. We need something, you give it to us that day. Like, you're the easiest person to work with. So I'm like, this is what you guys need to do. Just be super efficient and easy and send them what they need.
10%. And that's so smart, Katie, because, again, this isn't rocket science, it's relationships. And part of that is the part of that relationship building is that reliability. And it sounds like, right, you are very reliable. You will get back to them ASAP. I did a video once about this, that in terms of, likelihood of getting press coverage, how you can increase that likelihood without spending a dime. And it's all about responsiveness, right? The early bird gets the worm when it comes to media coverage, because we chat with our editor friends sometimes, and they tell us, if I can file this story earlier, I'm going to do that. Right. So,
Mm.
I often tell our clients and our students as well, too, that if the deadline is Friday, get it to them same day or Thursday at the absolute latest. So, good tip.
Definitely, definitely. So what made you get in the world of PR?
Goodness, that's a great question. Honestly, I wanted to be a journalist. That was my dream growing up, was to work in journalism. I majored in journalism in college, and my expectation was after college, I was going to be a writer. And what attracted me to that was really access to, in my case, musicians. I really wanted to be a music writer, access to them to tell their stories, but also the art form of writing in and of itself. I really, really love it. And plans did not go as I had initially hoped for. I ended up getting a job in the music industry, moved to New York City still, but worked at Columbia Records, where I got access to rock stars, which was great. But instead of telling their stories, I was marketing their tours, their albums. So trust me, not a bad gig at all. It was during that time period where I was accompanying some musicians to various interviews, right? Because here in the US, New York City is the media mecca. And I really, really got, sort of the best of both worlds, working with journalists, but then also having this access and, certainly loving the artists that I work for, and discovered PR, right? Like, oh, this is great. This is kind of the best of both worlds. And after my stint at Columbia Records, unfortunately, this was also during the time of the Great Recession here.
Mm.
Ended up moving back to Ohio, where I worked at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for about 5 years. And that was my first real job in public relations. And I absolutely loved it. So I think what has always attracted me again to PR in general is that authenticity, that storytelling aspect of it. I feel like the big difference between marketing and PR in many ways is, in marketing, we're oftentimes asking for something in return.
Mm.
I'm asking for your email. I'm asking for you to watch this. I'm asking for whatever, a sale. In PR, it's more about giving, right? I'm giving you my story. I'm giving you my insights. And certainly at the end of that rainbow, we want something in return, coverage, for example, social follows, whatever that might look like. But it just felt more genuine. And that's really where my passions lie, where, back where I kind of started in the storytelling side of things.
I actually love that, the difference between marketing and PR. I've never looked at it like that because I've always seen them different, but I've never kind of noticed what the difference is. So that's made it super clear. And you
Well,
being in that world of fame, musicians, you must have some really fun stories to share. You're going to have to tell the gossip. Like you've worked with the likes of Beyonce, Celine Dion. Like, come on, don't keep that secret.
gosh, yes. What's not under NDA, right? I'm sure that was ages ago, so I think nothing is anymore. But it is a totally different world, right? I think what was so magical about working for such top tier musicians, especially like these, divas like Beyonce and Celine Dion. I remember at the time hearing that, Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day as we all do, and thinking, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, she is just untouchable, right? She's a goddess. I never actually had the chance to meet her. I met her family, which all of them were very lovely, but that was just something that I kind of learned early on. Like, and since then, I've never really been like celebrity obsessed, and I think that has a lot to do with working with them at such a young age that, again, they're just people too. Probably one of my funniest stories was in fact working at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where we had an event. I think it was with Tommy Lee of Motley Crue, and it could literally not keep up with this man and his posse, so to speak. He was there's a lot of alcohol involved, a lot of going down the escalators, sliding down the escalators on the handrails, and we're there to obviously roll out the red carpet, get positive press coverage, but as they say, PR is a very stressful job. And I've since switched to the beauty and wellness world and haven't really looked back much at the music industry world, simply because it makes it a lot more stressful working with rock stars. I will say they're sometimes a little unpredictable, as Tommy Lee proved to be.
Oh my gosh, I bet. It's funny when you say that you don't really have that like thing towards celebrities, like they're just normal people, because I feel exactly the same. Like years ago,
Mhm.
I was modeling from like 13 up to like 19 years old. And that was like my full-time job from like such a young girl. So I was like always like in like TV commercials or runway, or we have to do like PR stuff with other celebrities there. And I was never ever like bothered, which everyone was like, why didn't you care that you just done a TV commercial with Cheryl Cole? I was like, don't even bother me. Like it just, obviously I think all these people are incredible and amazing, but you don't go, oh my God, it's so and so. And like they are really just genuine, normal people that, like we
Yes.
say, have the same 24 hours in a day.
Absolutely. I will share one little regret though. When was working at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we worked very closely with Taylor Swift's team because we had an exhibition that we were opening. And she actually came to the exhibition, and I took a pass on going up to meet her. I was like, I'm too busy. I've got deadlines. Like, send someone else up to greet her. And staff the event with the media. And I look back on that, especially now because I have two young girls, and I'm like, stupid ego. Like I should have gone up and said hi. This was again like over a decade ago. Like she was still popular, obviously, back then, but I might get a little starstruck now if I was in her orbit.
Yeah, definitely. There, because you said about everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day, it's something that I'm actually writing on at the moment because I'm in the process of writing my
Ooh,
own book. And I remember writing this line a few nights ago because I remember in the Molly May said that on a podcast once, and she got really, really like bad coverage for it because everyone's like, how can you have the same like 24 hours in a day when you have this help and we don't have that help, or however people look at it. What's your view on that? Like, does everyone have, obviously, we have the same 24 hours in a day, but is it the same?
I mean, it is the same 24 hours, right? But that being said, in many ways it's not. I really look at it as what's the best I can do in the 24 hours of a day that I have. And my best is going to look a heck of a lot different than Beyonce's best. You know, I don't have multiple nannies and chauffeurs and chefs and hairstylists and things along those lines. So I think a lot of it just comes down to perspective, right? I've also, as I've gotten older, have been, I hope, getting better at taking more of the long view because, again, there's a difference in productivity versus efficiency, right? Like just
Mm.
because you're getting things done in a day doesn't mean that those things are going to necessarily move the needle. And I think that a lot of us too, as women, want to feel not necessarily busy, but we've gotten used to this feeling of busy. Like I have to rush from thing to thing, and in many ways, it's kind of costing us, right? So if in that 24 hours a day, you can look back and not necessarily get so focused on that to-do list, but instead consider how present you were during that day, during the things that you were doing. I feel that that is just as good of, harnessing that time versus checking every single thing off of the box. I have very much like perfectionist issues myself.
Mm.
I'm an Enneagram 3 if anybody believes in that sort of stuff. Like I'm hyper focused. I get it done and it can be hard, right? Like thinking I have only so much time in the day, it has to get done, particularly working in PR, so deadline driven. And most of the time, right, it's somebody else's deadline. It's not mine. And so that I think taking the long view and giving ourselves grace around that can ultimately also save us from burnout. But the
Mm.
sort of long short answer of the question, yes, technically it's the same, but I think it's all about perspective. If you feel good about the 24 hours, great. If not, you have another 24 hours ahead of you as well.
Yeah, I love that look on it, definitely. So, talking about PR, there's
Mm.
lots of business owners that will be listening to this, mainly women in beauty, hair, aesthetics, that type of
Mhm.
industry. How important is it for them to start gaining PR as a business?
I think PR is so important, Katie. And it's interesting too, because I see a lot of beauty and wellness owners, business owners that focus on marketing and sales, which of course is so important. At the end of the day, nobody knows that they can buy from you unless they know who you are. And marketing is so important. So, whether that's on social media, offering various incentives, Google ads, meta ads, all of these things, referrals, they're all so important. But what I don't see a lot of beauty owners investing in is public relations. And ultimately, the function of public relations and marketing is to boost your business. But when it comes to marketing, right, the goal is revenue. But when it comes to PR, the goal is reputation. And what I sometimes see, especially aesthetics businesses, get into this kind of hamster wheel of is I gotta keep out competing, salon down the street or this other one that just opened in the neighborhood. And some of the ways that they're competing are on price. I see this a lot here in the States where it might be a discount on Botox, various flash sales, BOGOs, whatever that looks like. And while that's great for the consumer, it's not always as great for the business, right? You have to make sure that when you are bringing people in through your door, that they're having an exceptional experience so that they come back, right? Because it's more about that lifetime value of your customer versus, all of us want our customers to keep coming back, right?
Hmm.
And what I find that is really, really helpful in distinguishing a beauty business from, say your competitor down the street in a way where you're not trying to compete for the same eyeballs on social media and the same mailboxes with postcards and things like that is PR. Kind of think of it this way, right? Let's say your ideal client just moved into the neighborhood and they are on the hunt for a place to get their lashes done. It's been ages. They, set out on Google, ask around, and they've determined, two different places kind of meet them where they need. Ultimately, they look very similar. They have licensed people. All looks great. Gosh, which one are we going to go with? You might look at price, but you're going to probably look at the one, especially when it's the first time. Do I trust them? Which one do I trust more? Right. Um, One of these places has been awarded best lash spa in the region, has been quoted in Allure, Vogue, etc. You see it on their website. The other one has not. Right. This is a huge point of differentiation. That again, when it comes to that PR, what's so solid about it is that credibility boost, but it lives on forever. As long as you want to get the squeeze out of the lemon, you can juice it in perpetuity, right? And so we see a lot of times in PR people saying, I see the results of it for years to come, right? Because they are leveraging it in a way that makes an impact on their business. Can't really do that with advertising. Advertising's like this, right? Like once it's off or your promo was over, whatever, it disappears. When you think about the investment of PR going back to reputation, once we elevate that reputation, it absolutely can have an impact on your revenue. You don't have to discount as much, right? You can command a higher offer or a higher sale because you've been featured in all of these top tier publications. You're almost like borrowing that credibility, and in that case, right, able to sort of like lift your prices a little bit or at least be a little bit more competitive with those prices as well too. It serves as great content to put on your social media channels to help attract your ideal audience or even keep your current audience very engaged and on your side, right? Like it helps build that brand loyalty because they say to themselves, right, like, oh yeah, that's where I go to get my lashes done or my nails done. And you feel really, really good and proud to see that in them as well too. So I think PR is one of those things when it comes to sort of like that entire ecosystem of building a beauty brand. You think of PR, you think of marketing, you think of sales. Again, so many focus on the last two, right? The marketing, the
Hmm.
sales. Again, so important. PR does not necessarily equal sales right away, but it gives you that leverage for the long term that marketing alone doesn't necessarily afford us to really not just help build a business, but really build a brand for the long run too.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I love that because when people come to me and they go, oh, I got this press coverage, and I'm like, that's amazing. They're like, but I've got no sales on the back of it. And I'm like, it's not about that. Like, that will come
Mm,
in time. Like, build that credibility because the sales come on the back of that. And like, the
mm,
biggest example I can give of that was when I opened my salon. I was like 19 years old, have no qualifications. I dropped out of school at 13 like because I was bullied. Like there was this whole story, and I was like, I'm gonna go to press on this. Don't know how I must have been from the modeling days, like learning how to like sell myself. And I was like, gonna go to press on it. That was out 15 years ago now. I will still have people walk in and go, I remember that article that was in the paper. Or they've maybe
mm.
only just come and used us for the first time now, 15 years later, because they remembered, oh, there was a salon in this little village and that girl opened it and I want to support her. Like, isn't that just so amazing?
That is incredible. And it doesn't surprise me. I mean, even human nature, right? Like we're people. People tell stories and stories are memorable. So in that case too, right? Like we remember them, we share them. I mean, when's the last time you shared an ad, right? Like unless there was something about that advertisement that was either educational or entertaining, chances are I'm swapping article links with people all the time, right? Because you can go a little bit deeper in that story. And when you have a little bit of extra airtime, so to speak, that's what makes it so memorable. So I love that for you, though. I mean, 15 years, that's a good run for a piece of coverage, I must say.
Honestly, I mean, back when everyone used to read newspapers and stuff like that, we don't
Right.
really have that now. But yeah, like really, really, like I love that. I use that example all the time. But if someone comes to you and they haven't got a budget, or they're listening to this and they're like, I just can't afford a PR agency, what steps would they do to get their own coverage?
Such a great question. It is absolutely doable. You just have to have patience, is the most important thing. So I'm a big believer in working backwards. So we even ask our one-on-one clients this all the time, like, what is your wish list, right? In terms of, I would love to see my business featured in, let's say, Allure. So first thing that I would recommend is read the news is so important. When it does come to earning media coverage, the most successful vehicles that we take is a pitch, right? Which usually looks like an email explaining, to the journalist a little bit about yourself and why they might want to cover you. So, if you do not have a big budget, no fear. One of the most important things that you can use your time on is educating yourself about the various publications that you would like to approach with a pitch. Because I recently, sat down in New York with the new beauty editor of InStyle magazine, and she was telling me she gets 800 pitches every single day. Most of them she does not even read. And those that she does read, she says a lot of them, Reena, are irrelevant. Like they clearly, it's sprayed and prayed, had no idea what they were asking for or were asking for too much. And when you are doing PR yourself, time is a non-renewable resource. So you really have to be very focused on how you spend your time. So I would rather you shoot for the target and get it versus just like spray and pray. So I would identify like who are the top, let's say 5 to 10 writers that write exactly what you hope that they will write about. So in your case, Katie, if we could use an example, right? Like if we were to focus, let's say on lashes, right? Who at InStyle writes about this? And this isn't just product-based reviews, but also interviewing experts, because that's what you're going to really, really want to look for. And then jot down who they are, follow them on social media. Most of them are going to be most active on Instagram, believe it or not. TikTok, I know every journalist is on TikTok. They're not as active. They're more like voyeurs, let's put it that
Mm.
way. But if you can find them on TikTok too, if that's your jam, that's great. But focusing on following them on Instagram, for example, and engaging with them too. You want that name recognition before you land in their inbox. Again, we are, kind of warming them up, right? Like this is part of that relationship building. So liking their posts, commenting on their posts, it goes a long way. What I want to caution people from is like DMing them and saying like, hey, I'd love to work with you on a story or something like that. I think it's fine if you want to DM them and just say, again, not right away. You need to kind of relationship build a little bit, but I've got a great story idea from you. What's the best email I can send this to? Perfectly fine to do that over Instagram. And then when you do kind of build out your pitch, again, going back to PR is more about giving versus taking, like in marketing. As beauty experts, yourself included, I would take the stance of, I'm here to help you. I am an expert on these topics, and I would love to be a resource for you on stories revolving about these. If you need a quick interview, soundbite, etc., let me know. And I swear, Katie, I have gotten emails back the same day from journalists that say, thank you so much. Either I will file this because they use their inboxes as like little search engines. I will file this and get back to you. Or, wow, the timing was so great. I'm actually working on something right now. Here's 4 questions. Can you get the answers back to me right away? And it's as simple as that, right? But it does take a little bit of patience. It does
Mm.
take a little bit of courage, but start with that 5 to 10. And then if you don't hear back from that 5 to 10, right? Nothing wrong with following up, right? Don't follow up super soon. I would say give it a week or so, especially if it's not anything urgent, right? It's not nothing breaking news in that case, but just, friendly reminder, I'm here. A great reason to follow up. Maybe they, published a story that you really enjoyed. Just again, sending them a follow up email. I really, really enjoyed reading your story on X, Y, and Z. Again, I'm here. I'd love to also offer a resource as myself as well. It's as easy as that. And again, doesn't cost you anything but your time. The things that it may cost you, right? Because PR, the coverage itself is free, but the things that you will need to have sort of locked down in place before, it's always a good idea to have really nice photography. It could be of your particular studio, definitely of yourself too. You never want a deadline to lag because you're like, oh crap, I need to go get photos taken, right? It's super fast. Especially for your listeners that are in the UK. I know for a lot of the beauty publications here in the States, we do have, there's Condé Nast and Hearst and all of that are based over there as well too. So it might make more sense for you to start, where is a little bit more relevant for your business. But, for those that are also listening that are interested in stateside press coverage, certainly that door is open to you as well.
Definitely. And what about LinkedIn? Can you find the journalists on LinkedIn quite easily as well?
You definitely can. I will say, even as someone who is a PR agency owner, LinkedIn is a little bit less active. I will
Hmm.
say, and when it comes to journalists too, the thing about LinkedIn is that you can follow people on LinkedIn, but in terms of a connection request, so basically requesting to connect with a particular journalist, typically we find it a little bit more friction in that space versus Instagram. So LinkedIn is really looked at by a lot of journalists as a place to, especially like for freelancers, which is a good point to make. Freelancers are fantastic to pitch, especially if you're doing your own public relations. But looking for other kind of writing gigs, working with other editors. But again, like any kind of social media, whether it be LinkedIn or Instagram, Twitter or X, TikTok, etc. I've not heard of many journalists that are accepting of pitches from there, unless they do have it in their handle or their bio, I should say. My DMs are open for story
Hmm.
ideas. That I do see once in a while, and if that's the case, have at it for sure.
Yeah, definitely the long game, relationship building, warm them up for sure. And what about
Yeah.
personal branding? Like, is that important when it comes to PR? And how does someone build that personal brand?
Personal brand is really important when it comes to PR, and it might not be as one might think. Like when we think about branding, I even myself, I think about aesthetics, right? Which is very important, like making sure that you have a website that is functional, that looks great. Same thing with your social media, because the first thing that a journalist is going to do when they get wind of you, whether it be in a pitch or a follow or what have you, is check out your presence on social media is super important. But going back to that idea of like differentiation, especially in a sea of 800 pitches, other beauty experts pitching, vying for the same coverage as you're vying for. I think one of the things that helps with personal branding and setting yourself apart is your perspective. What is it that you can offer that is not the same as everybody else? So you can call it disruptive insights. You could just call it, you're also a coach, right? You teach people this exact same thing that you are an expert in as well. Some kind of hook or perspective that you can marry into your own personal brand will help set you apart as well. Because again, like a lot of these journalists, when they're writing stories, they don't want to write the same story over and over again. They need fresh perspectives. So if you can kind of come to the table and as part of your brand, like I'm a master hairstylist and blah blah blah, something about either your view, your technique, the products that you use, what you do. Also, maybe it's a side hustle of some kind. That's something that I always find is really, really helpful when you can marry those two things and really walk the talk as well too. It's not just a hobby; it's something that you live and breathe by. And they can go to your website, they could go to your social media and see that as well too.
Yeah, definitely. Because then I guess the one thing I see people also struggle with is they get the PR. I'm actually can talk about myself on this as well because I've been quite bad on it. But they get the PR, but then how do they leverage that after? Because they might have been on a podcast and think, oh, okay, I've been on that podcast, tick, maybe shared it
Mhm.
once, or I got a spread in professional beauty, tick, shared that
Mhm.
once. But what do they do from that after? Like, is there a way to leverage it or push it more?
That is really where the value of PR comes to into play 100% is the leverage that it affords you. And just as a lot of business owners might not prioritize securing PR or press coverage in the first place, a lot of them, probably even more, aren't leveraging it to the best of their ability as well. Because I think that just as humans too, we read the news and we see that the news kind of gets old, right? Like something's in the news, some celebrity scandal. Oh my gosh, nobody can stop talking about it for a few days a week and then it goes away. And we expect the same. Well, why would people still care about this later too? But again, when you think about first impressions and so forth, every day someone's having a new first impression of you and they haven't seen that coverage. So it's important to make sure that it is visible to them. So a few of the ways that you can leverage press coverage for those long term benefits. First and foremost, add it to your website. I highly suggest a press page. Excuse me, if you don't have one, very easy to create. You can link directly to that press coverage and make sure that it's easy to navigate to on your website. So a press page is great. I also love expanding on press coverage in a blog post because SEO is so important. So if you can kind of flesh out the press coverage a little bit, or maybe you did an email interview, but the entire interview wasn't used in the piece. Maybe they just took bits and pieces of it. You can maybe alert your readers to read the full interview that I did with InStyle, for example. And that helps educate and inform them, but also helps you on the SEO front as well. And again, you're leveraging that press coverage, which is so great. Press coverage is also content too. So you can put it again on your social media channels. If you go to, for example, the Factor PR Instagram, you can see we've got, you know, all over the place, right? Like, oh, we got this client featured here with a little snapshot, link to read the entire article. Great coverage means great content on your social channels as well too. I've seen a lot of beauty experts also put it in their bio. Again, thinking about first impressions as featured in Essence, Allure, Vogue. That helps build that credibility pretty instantly, of course, as well too. But also talking a lot about online. Don't forget your in-person opportunities too. So if you own a salon, for example, maybe you have a digital screen of some kind in your salon. If you don't have a digital screen, two options that could be really great. You can get one of those digital frames that could sit on your front desk. Where you can upload that press coverage to sort of rotate. So while your clients are waiting for their appointment or they're checking out to pay, they're seeing that in the studio as well too. You could also, if you're a little bit more analog, put together a beautiful press book if you've amassed some good coverage over the years and put that on the coffee table in your waiting room and have your clients kind of look through it as well too. And again, they're already in the door, but as we know, PR, meaning public relations, isn't just necessarily press coverage or influencer coverage or anything like that. It's how people feel when they're in your studio and in your chair as well too, and that experience that they are having, and anything that you can do to sort of make that experience more exciting and memorable and credible for them, like leveraging this coverage can be great too. And as you build your business and you want to attract, let's say, team members, you're in a place of growth and you'd like to grow your team, going back to LinkedIn, sharing that coverage on LinkedIn, maybe even, when you think about your culture and values that you perhaps want to include in your job description, right? You can insert some of those accolades, whether it be awards, coverage, etc., like that in there so that you can really leverage that press coverage to attract top talent into your business too. So again, the important thing to remember, as we often say at Factor PR, like once featured in the New York Times, you've always been featured in the New York Times. That's something that, just sort of like a college degree or a university degree, right? You go to school to, let's say, be a doctor, and that's important. That's something you're not going to, not celebrate and leverage for the rest of your career. But just having a degree isn't going to necessarily make you wealthy, right? You have to put it to work. And the same thing goes with press coverage. Just because you've landed that press coverage, to go back to your point about your friend who said, "Where's all of the sales?" Right? It's in the leverage. It's how you leverage that press coverage will not only, again, boost your brand reputation, but ultimately your business too. So keep leveraging it.
Yeah, definitely. There's such good tips. And I love the idea of like little screens and stuff in the salon. I mean, we've got a big like frame in the salon, which was just glass. And then I've cut out all of our articles or any press or awards that are won. And we do it like a collage in this frame. So when anyone comes in or asks for a price list, or they come in and they have their first appointment, and they'll be like, wow, if they didn't know. And it does definitely help like cement like where they are, and that, they are in a trusted location for us to do their treatments and stuff. So it definitely helps. You have given us so much information in this podcast. Like, I really, really appreciate you being so open. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I'm so happy that I was able to come on and share some of that. And just again, remember, you never know until you try, right? And there's the worst case scenario, you either hear no or not right now or nothing at all. But persistence is absolutely key, and this type of coverage is certainly within reach.
Definitely. Where is best for people to reach out to you? Is it Instagram?
Instagram is great. Our website as well is great too, facteurpr.com. That's factor in French. So FACTEURPR.com.
Perfect. We will put that in the show notes so you guys can just click on and then connect. But thank you so much for coming on. And if you loved this podcast as much as I did, like this was so much information, like we are really, really grateful. So if you did love this, please make sure that you share, tag us so we can reach more people, because we really want to spread the word on how to help grow your businesses. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys know that I have been working with Sky Premium products for over a year now. I absolutely adore everything they do. If you need some type of supplement, then I'm pretty sure they will have it on their website. Now, my go-to is the collagen and the hair tablets. I can't live without them. The collagen is a liquid form and it is really affordable, and the tablets are super affordable and is making my hair grow because I'm so sick of this bob. I'm also selling them in my salon and they fly off the shelves. So go and check out the show notes and you can see a discount code there if you want to give them a go. If you want to sell them in your business, then drop me a message and I can give you an email for you to go and contact them so you get wholesale prices. My clients are loving it and coming back time and time again, regardless if they've got a treatment booked in or not. So we all know we love them retail sales. So go and check them out.